go. So The Unassailable by Roman Rudin from his collection of short stories, Strange Occurrence in the Region of the Heart. Did that a couple of weeks ago. Let's go back a page. Here we go. That's today's date. So Sounds of English class, 26th of the 1st, 26. Let's flick over to the text. Here we go. So here we are. So thanks, Ruslan. I think you've already said you'd like to start off. So here you go.
Yeah.
Over to you. Do the best you can. Thank you.
Okay. Very nice. The Unassailable. My name is Gustav Braun. I'm a soldier. Every time I hear the age-old call to arms, my life starts over again. I was in the first rank of Alexander's phalanx
Mhm.
and already knew then that I was unassailable. I saw the seeds of death and tramp on the corpses on my enemies and and left of me my uh, comrades, uh, comrades fell down dead with smile on their face. While Alexandra knew the true value of his greatness when I when I left his forces. Then followed uh, Caesar's legions, the crushed barbarians, and centuries of dark oblivion. I forgot all the name under which I fought for all of these years. I was a witness to the rise of great empires as well as to their complete annihilation. Them modesty. After all, it was I who had brought these bloodthirsty leaders to power, as well as being the reason for their ultimate downfall.
Shall I
Only
stop
one.
you there? Shall I
Oh,
stop you
yeah,
there?
okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
okay.
great. That's very good, actually.
Okay.
Thank you. So how
Nice.
was that? What was your trickiest words, would you say, or what was any words you want to go back over
Yeah,
again?
there were a couple of tricky words. Yeah, it is true. And let's start with the age-old call.
Hmm.
I don't know exactly the meaning of this.
Um, so if you put those words the other way round, the old call maybe, the call that has been said many times in the past. It's been said so many times, we now call it old. The age-old
Mm,
call. I suppose really that's probably a little bit of an idiom, maybe in a sense, age-old.
mm.
It's just saying that it's been happening for a very long time in the past.
It
It's
was
not new.
yeah, later.
It's
Yeah,
very
it
long.
was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
I guess at the start of
okay.
a war or something in ancient times, they said they might have shouted in some way or other to the townsfolk to arms, and that's what they're saying. That so the age old bit means what's old is the fact that it's this saying to arms. Does that make sense? I haven't really explained that very well. So when you say two arms, that means your weapons to
Yeah,
fight a battle, of course.
yeah. It is means two arms. You need to be ready to fight. Yeah.
Yes, two arms. And so an arm would be a weapon in this sense. Your arms are your
Hmm.
weapons, not the arms on your chest, but
Yeah.
a
Okay.
weapon. Yeah.
Then I want to ask about uh, phalanx. Phalanx. Yeah.
Phalanx. So, yeah, you said it very well. That's exactly how it's said. So PH is obviously F, so that's it, yeah, phalanx. So this is really a Greek word, and this is the a military word in particular. When they laid out their soldiers in ancient Greece, this was the this is what they called them. So a division of their soldiers lined up with their weapons and their shields was called a phalanx. So there might be 100
Mm-hmm.
men or whatever. I think it was 50 men or something. I'm not sure
Mm-hmm.
what the numbers was. I think they were in lines of two. Oh, it doesn't matter. So there was a line of men in the front, a line of men behind, and maybe someone behind as well as behind that as well. And that was called a phalanx. It's like a battalion. It's kind of like a small
Mm-hmm.
a group of men who are ready to fight and are commanded by someone. It There was more than one phalanx. It sort of implies that it was just the one phalanx here, but as my understanding, there would be numerous types and numerous different ones of phalanxes. So it'd be probably plural.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that means then. So just the Greeks talk about phalanx.
It is in simple words, it is like this is probably the second line in a front of Alexander, yeah? Uh, Line of defeat, yeah?
It's
Defense of.
not necessarily, no, it's just a grouping of soldiers
Mhm,
ready to fight. It's a particular, it's the way the Greeks organize their soldiers, and they organize them in what was called a phalanx. And it's
mhm.
only them talk about phalanxes.
Okay, and yeah.
A line of
Uh,
soldiers, effectively, basically, getting ready to fight or defend.
yeah, tricky to me as well. Trampled.
Yes, okay. So if you trample something, it just means you're stepping on it, you're walking on it, but slightly, maybe slightly carelessly if you trample on something.
Mm-hmm.
So if you drop your newspaper in a
Mm-hmm.
crowd, people will probably step on it. They will trample on it. They won't see it necessarily,
Oh,
your paper on the ground. If it's in this case,
okay.
it's people who are fall on the ground because they're injured or dead, and they're being trampled because people are trying to defend themselves, and they're not really thinking about people who have just died on the ground themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Anything else though?
Okay.
Bit of a bloodthirsty story, this, isn't it? So hopefully the others won't be
Yeah.
like this.
Cops, it is means people who already died, yeah, and
That's it. Yeah.
body, yeah, body of people,
The
yeah.
body of a dead person is
Ah,
is the corpse. That's it.
body
It
of
is
the.
plural here. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. How about comrade? Comrade.
Yes. Oh, you've got it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think when you read it out, it didn't sound quite right originally, but you're saying it. You're spot on now. That's exactly how it said. So with the S, I would say it has comrades. Comrades. Okay.
Comrades.
Yes, you have it. That's it. Um, and if you're a comrade with someone, they're your friends. They're your probably your best friend. You
Hmm.
probably even. That's that. Okay. Anything
Yeah,
else?
and yeah, ac- accursed, accursed.
Oh yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Accursed. You've got it. That's it. Accursed. Yeah, that's exactly how it said. Accursed. Yeah. I think you might have said accused. And when I
Yeah,
first saw it, I was tempted to say accused because it does look quite similar.
yeah,
Accursed.
accursed, yeah, accursed.
Let's put it in the dictionary anyway and see what it comes up
Yeah.
with. So literally, they're saying in this, you probably just use this in writing. You wouldn't probably use it in everyday language. They're saying it's an adjective.
Um,
So one, if you're under a cursed, you can say you're accursed. The angel of death walks this accursed house. That's a sort of a quote there, isn't it? I used to express strong dislike of or anger at someone or something. So it, so it's used to express strong dislike or anger at someone or something. And then there's a quote, this accursed country. That's not a quote there, of course, there. Accursed.
Mm. Okay, it is in simple words, I can say that I wish you not the best, but the best, yeah? For example,
If you,
it is
it,
it is
you,
means like this, yeah?
I didn't quite get what you said actually. Say that again.
Yeah, yeah, I understand this ex- um, uh, occurs like wish to someone something bad, yeah?
Yes, you wish something bad on someone. That's it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, how about oblivion, oblivion?
I think actually when you read it out originally, you said it. You were spot on when you read it out. That's it. So, oblivion, oblivion.
Oblivion.
That's right.
Yeah.
Um, let's look at the dictionary definitions.
Hmm.
It says here a noun, state of being unaware or unconscious of what is happening around you. Okay.
Hmm.
So if
Hmm.
you could say the other sort of meaning is when you die, you could say that you go to oblivion in a sense. I have heard that said. If you're in oblivion, you're you're unaware, as just as it said, you're unaware of everything. It's almost as if you're in
Hmm.
another place almost. You're perhaps unconscious. But if we're
Hmm.
talking about people dying and in a battle, to say dark oblivion, it sounds like they might be dying or being killed or something. So it's a bit of a dark story, isn't it, really?
Hmm.
Dark oblivion. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just read that line
Okay.
again. So
Hmm.
then followed Caesar's legions and accursed barbarians and centuries of dark oblivion. So dark
Okay.
oblivion. So oblivion really means you're in a place of being unaware. You don't know what's happening. So he's sort of saying we don't know what was happening in these centuries.
Hmm.
So it's a little bit unclear, but it's almost poetical in a sense. So it's not
Hmm.
100% clear. Anything else there?
Yeah, and an annihilation.
Yeah, you've almost pretty much got that there, I would say. Yes. Annihilation. If sort of said normal speed. Annihilation.
Annihilation.
Yes,
Annihilation.
that's it. Yes.
It
Annihilation.
is
Yeah.
means like ruin, yeah, something.
Pretty much, yes. But more so. If something's annihilated, it's pretty much destroyed to nothing, you can say. Or it's so badly destroyed, there's pretty much nothing left.
Mm,
So it's about as
okay.
bad as you can get in terms of destruction or battle or something. So if you annihilate an enemy, they weren't just defeated, they were absolutely destroyed. They were really super defeated in a sense. Okay. So
Hmm.
so
How can I understand the words more modesty, modesty? It is like a shine, yeah?
yeah, that's basically it. A modesty is there is shyness. That's it. Yeah. So brought the dictionary again. So the quality of state of being unassuming. If you're unassuming, you can say you're shy. In the estimation of others, one's abilities with typical modesty. He as an example there. So it's basically just saying shyness, really. Um, Yeah. So here is has an exclamation mark, and he's saying, "Damn modesty." So he's
Hmm.
it's almost if you're angry about something, you might say, "Damn, I'm really angry about something. Damn modesty." So he might be saying that he is too modest. He doesn't say what he has experienced or say what he has seen. He should be more proud, maybe, but he has problems with his
Hmm.
modesty. But then again, he's seen the things
Hmm.
he has seen are terrible things. I'm not quite sure if he should tell anyone, really. So, well,
Hmm. And bloodthirsty.
yeah, that's pretty close. Yeah, bloodthirsty,
Um,
bloodthirsty. Yes,
bloodthirsty.
yeah.
Yeah,
If it's,
to be honest, it is two words, yeah, which connected in one, and we can logically think, yeah, blood and thirsty. It is means like a, yeah,
you can guess
like
the
a
meaning.
very bad people, bad person, yeah.
Um, Basically, yes, but bloodthirsty it really fits in with fighting, wars, death,
Um,
murder, that sort of a thing, isn't
yeah,
it? It's not
yeah,
just
yeah,
bad in a
yeah,
general sense. It's I suppose
yeah,
really it's killing in particular, I guess.
yeah. And the last one, downfall,
Down.
downfall. It is,
Well, you can probably guess that one too, just as you
yeah.
guessed bloodthirsty. So if you
Mhm.
fall down, you're down. Things are over if you fall down. You could say. Your downfall, more precisely, is when your end has come. So when an empire, and it mentions
Mhm.
Caesar here, when his empire or Caesar's empires came to an end, you could say it was the downfall. It was their downfall.
Mm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
end
Okay.
in a sense. So it could be a person's end. So when someone dies, or perhaps when someone loses all their money, if they're a gambler, you might say it was their downfall, something like that. Or an empire coming to
Mhm.
an end. That's it.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
very
you.
good. Very good. Um, so I was wondering, Dolores, do you have any questions about this little bit here? We've already gone through
No, no,
Ruslan's.
no. Some of the some the same of Rosen, but I
Oh,
think I understood quite well in
yes,
general.
yes, yes. Um, with pronunciation, if I think about anything I noticed, I thought it was quite good. You went through it nice and slowly, so it gave you a good chance to pronounce all the words as best you could, I think. Um,
Uh, I
and
start?
any, did you have a question, Dolores?
No, 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 no. No, no, not of the previous
No.
one.
I remember seeing, I think it was the word, I can't see where it is now, but I think it was the word complete. It was complete something. I can't think what it was. It said complete something.
Um.
Oh, complete annihilation, wasn't it? Yes, yes. Um, I think it was the word complete in particular, and we've done annihilation already. Do you fancy just reading that line again where it says, "I
Mhm.
was witness to the rise of great empires"? So this word is complete, and we've just done
Mhm.
annihilation. So down to there, maybe. So I
Okay.
was yeah,
I was a witness. I was witness to the rise of the. Yeah. I was witness of. I was witness to the rise of great empires, as well as to their complete annihilation.
very good, very good. Your annihilation is perfect, I would say. Well done. Um, Maybe with witness,
Mhm.
um, I think you're saying it. Maybe I'm copying you a little bit. So I think the T is a bit too strong when you're saying it. So if I just say this word again for you, witness, witness.
Witness,
Yeah,
witness.
yeah. So just ease back on the T. So there's sort of, in a sense, I look at this as almost two words. So wit and ness. But when you sort of end this sort of first syllable, you're saying the T ends a bit too strong, I would say. So it's only a
Mhm,
very small
mhm,
detail, and maybe it doesn't matter to be honest. So yeah, perhaps leave it as it is, but just tone back the T slightly. So witness.
w-
Uh,
Witness,
Yeah, that's okay.
witness.
Yeah, that's great. That's it. So anything else you want to practice? Maybe comrades again, comrades,
Mhm. Yeah. Uh, comrades, comrades,
comrades.
comrades,
That's right, comrades. That's it.
comrades. Yeah, comrades.
Your voice is just slightly unclear again, a little bit like last
Mhm.
time, if you remember. But I think you're pretty much saying it. I think you're putting a slight gap in here maybe when you're saying it, and then giving a bit too much emphasis to the R, perhaps. So, comrades, comrades.
Comrades.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's okay. Yes, comrades. I think that's pretty much it, I would guess. Anything else? I did
Mm,
notice, particularly at the beginning somewhere, where we had these words like the th words, and then there was, I think it was perhaps then and the that. The
yeah.
th sound, it was, I think you pretty much was like, it was zen. You said zen, zat, I think it was, or dat. Oh, when you
Mhm,
said
mhm,
the, I think it was, you said, rather than you said duh. I think it was duh or da.
mhm.
So that's sort of the
Yeah.
German way of saying that word, really. So if you, I think someone was learning German, so that might be useful for them. But
Mm.
it's the th sound, so we could go back over that maybe next time, perhaps. So remind me, we'll go back over the T
Okay.
sound again. I'm sure I think you know how to do it, but it's practice, isn't it? So, so any questions from either of you guys, Ruslan, Delors? Any more questions about this little bit we've just
Mm,
read?
no, at the moment, no. Thank you.
Gr- Great, okay. So maybe Delors then. Do you fancy reading a little bit, say from here on the other side? So
Okay. Okay.
Delors, okay
Yes.
over here. Yes.
Yes. That's
Okay.
it. Only once did I allow myself to be grown, but I very quickly realized that my festival was becoming a heavy burden, and that if I didn't return to the ranks as an ordinary soldier, I would have to conquer the whole world, and that was not in my plans. I live so many lives that I start quite naturally to recall how Alexander, with precise movements of his short clasped hand, would triumphantly direct his phalanx, which had managed to withstand the enemy's simultaneous onslaught on four sides. Oh, brackets, it's quite difficult. Or I would recall how Caesar, from the top of a hill, would look down on his legions, which had shattered the Greek phalanx that had proven invincible in the valleys, but powerless in the Balkan foothills. The ease the easy with which I was able to see through the commander's eyes what was happening around made me begin to seriously believe in the uh, unassailability. Sorry,
Sorry.
sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, carry on, carry on.
Yes, unassail. Oh wow, unassailability of one of my barriers, who now, okay,
Yes.
who always found himself at the very center of the battle, but who always emerged unharmed. Of course, I understood that I couldn't be simultaneously Caesar and the soldier who had brought the former in a state of mystical awe. but there was nothing I could do about it. I was even suspected of lunacy and heresy, but as I gave no preference to any of those to whom I ascribed my memories, my accusers could not drag me to the stake. And that's how things continued for quite a while. I learned more and more about the world around me and about the people I came to live amongst. Over time, history resembled less and less the recollections I had of it. Gradually, I became Gustav Braun again, and Greece and Rome remained in the distant past, where I had no place.
Very good. Very good. I'll stop you
Oh
there.
my
That's
God, I
okay.
am so tired.
Yeah, no, no. I thought you were going to stop it on your own accord, but no, so I stopped you. Okay, that is
Yeah.
very good. I thought you were doing very, very well. Very, very well.
My full attention was in reading, and I realized that I don't think about the story.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know.
No, we did very well. You did very well. It's. I thought you brought the story out. You didn't rush it. It was good. I thought it was very good. I thought no, you did very well. Well done.
Mhm.
Um, so you kind of didn't notice the story. You just
Yeah,
read the
because I was
words.
so
Yeah,
worried
it does
about the
happen. Yeah.
pronunciation.
Yeah, a lot of most people say that actually. Most people
Yeah.
say that. Perhaps only when you read it the second time do you suddenly see, oh, that's the story. Oh, that's strange thing to happen in the
I
story.
prefer if I can, I prefer read before, but
Yeah,
they I
didn't
couldn't.
get a chance. Yeah, that's okay. It happens, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, so let's run through a little bit then. So we'll go back to the next page, the
Okay.
previous page in a moment. Sorry about
Please,
turning
please.
over too early.
Yeah.
Is there anything here you want to go back over again that you
I prefer begin uh,
begin here?
exactly on the
Okay, here we
beginning.
are.
Exactly. Uh,
So it's at the top of the page, pretty much.
best of all, my best of all,
Yeah, that's bestowal.
best of all.
So it says up here that he was crowned. So that means that somehow he, or some or other, in some way or other, he was made king.
Yes,
If
yes.
someone gives you the crown, it means you've been made king. And another way of referring to that is to say his or my bestowal.
It's giving a heavy
So
burden.
it's a very odd word. May never see this word ever again in the whole of your life. And only really would talk about when great authority is given to somebody.
But
That's
like
really
a
what this
thing,
means. Sorry?
Tony,
Like
like
a
a
king,
thing.
yes. He was
Okay.
crowned, that's why he got a king. And another way of referring to that event is to say bestowal. Does that make
Okay.
sense? So they
Oh.
could have perhaps used crowned again, but it'd be a very boring sentence if they used the word crown twice in the one sentence. So they use a slightly different word,
It's a
but a
synonym.
much rarer. It's quite rare, this word.
Okay.
Just a way of referring to him becoming king, effectively,
Okay. Okay.
or leader.
And we did return to the ranks. Well, and I also
I noticed your R, your very strong R, ranks.
ranks.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Of course, I noticed you corrected yourself a few times. Of course, there's no sort of rhotic R in any English, in the sort of Southern English, I would say. Although
mm,
in Scotland, they'd love you in Scotland because they do that in Scotland. There's a bit of a trill on the R's, very slight trill on the R's in Scotland, but not
mm.
England really. Yeah. So carry on, carry on. Anything else?
Okay. Okay. As a sword clasped of his sword clasped.
Yeah. So really, if you this is really relates to this word here, hand.
Ma- Ah,
If you're holding something in your hand, you can say you're clasping it. So here it's saying his sword clasped hand.
this,
So presumably he's holding the sword in his hand. That's all it's saying, really.
okay.
If you're clasping something, it's in your hand. If you're wearing a clasp, it's something like a piece of jewelry which holds on to your clothes. So it's really got this idea of holding on to something. Does
Ah,
that make
okay,
sense?
okay,
So
okay.
you can wear a clasp. It's a piece of jewelry on your clothes, like perhaps a brooch or something like that, a clasp. And in this sense here, as a verb, he's holding something in his hand, I guess.
Very, very hard. Holding very hard,
Um,
or not?
clasp. I don't, not particularly, but yes, I suppose there is an idea of that maybe. Let's quickly have a look at the in the dictionary. Does it bring it up here? That isn't hard. Yeah, it does say tightly. Yes, tightly. Yes,
Mhm.
you're right. Holding it tightly. That's it.
Okay.
Well done. You spotted that.
This one is to withstand is it is with understand is something different. What exactly?
This
To
word,
uh,
this here, if you withstand something, it means you've taken the full attack of something and it didn't defeat you. So you might be at work and you withstood all the customers who came in fighting against you at once, all at the same time, let's say. Does that make sense? It's standing against something which is trying to knock you over.
mhm.
So you're standing up and something's trying to knock you over. If you withstand it, it means it didn't knock you over. Does that make sense?
Okay, then they yeah, okay. They try not to be what is
Pushed over.
exact. Okay, I understand. Yeah.
But here, it being an attack, it's an army or battle sort of thing. It's obviously losing some sort of a battle or a fight, isn't it? That's what it means here,
Okay.
particularly.
Okay. Another one so difficult. What's onslaught? Onslaught? What is the pronunciation?
Well, can we
Onslaught?
just do this one here first of all? So you said this two or three times, but the second time it came up in this paragraph, in this sort of part of the story, you said it quite well. So just want to say this first word of this word here first of all, though.
Simultaneous.
Yeah, that's it. Simultaneous. That's it. Pretty much. Yeah,
Simultaneous.
that's it. And
Onslaught.
but here it's saying simultaneous onslaught.
Onslaught.
So something is happening at the same time, and it's happening on all four sides, and it's
Sim
a battle. So
okay.
what might be happening on all four sides in a battle at the same time? What might be happening in a battle on all four sides of you? What might be that? Any ideas?
Uh, uh,
You're in a battle,
yeah.
all four sides. Something's happening to you on all four sides. What's happening in a battle? You're being fought. They're fighting you. So an onslaught is a particularly fierce battle, you could say. An
Attack.
onslaught is a
The attack.
particularly fierce battle. An attack, yes.
Okay.
So they're being simultaneously attacked
Okay.
very strongly on four sides.
But
Attacked on four sides.
Tony, is it a common word, onslaught, instead of attack?
Um, if you're reading, yes, I suppose this is a relatively uncommon, I would say. But because it's about a battle and fighting, yes, it's probably going to be used quite a bit, I suppose, about battles, I suppose. So it depends on what you're reading, doesn't it? But in everyday language, you probably wouldn't use this that often. I wouldn't, anyway.
Mhm. Okay.
It's more of a literary term, I would say. So just like this word up here, bestowal is a you might only use that when a king is being crowned, and you might never use it, and the next time the word gets used is
Mhm.
50 years later when the next king or queen gets crowned and they're
Okay.
bestowed with their crown. Okay, so it is
Mhm.
similarly, you might only use this rarely, but when it is used, you know what it means in that sense because it's fighting. But it could be at work. It doesn't have to be anyone doesn't have to, no one has to die, of course, but
Okay.
necessarily.
Mhm.
Anything else?
One moment. Uh, I don't remember shattered. Shattered. Why you don't remember that shattered?
If you break glass, you can say it's shattered
Ah,
because
okay.
it goes into
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
different pieces,
Mhm.
lots of different pieces. You can say something is shattered.
Yeah.
If you just break a piece of glass, there's one crack in it, you can't say it's shattered, really. So
Okay.
an army might be shattered, or you might feel shattered because you're very exhausted after a full day at work. So there's a couple
Mhm.
of ways you could use it, really.
Okay. Uh,
This word?
yeah, but it's it's very clear because it's the same in Spanish.
I think you
Invincible.
may have said it the
Invincible.
Spanish way. I think you might have had to be influenced by the Spanish. How would it be said in English, this word, do you think? Any idea?
One moment. I'm invincible. Invincible.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yes, invincible. The V
Invincible.
is a little bit stronger. Invincible. Invincible.
Invincible. Invincible. Mhm.
Okay, invincible. That's pretty good.
So, so my- it's very difficult to pronounce unassailability. Please, could you pronounce
Oh,
unassailability?
okay. So the piece of this very short story is called the Unassailable.
Mm.
But another with a different ending on the end. So unassailability.
Unassailability.
That's it, yeah.
Unassailability. Mm.
Unassailability. That's it, yes.
Unassailability. Yeah. Wow.
I said it too slowly. Unassailability. Unassailability.
Unassailability. Unassailability. Well,
It's a
but but,
tricky word.
but no problem because it's not so important, really.
Yes, it's an unusual word. Yeah,
Unusual.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're more likely to come across unassailable than unassailability, I would say.
Unassailable. Yeah.
Unless you're in the army or something.
Mhm.
You're not in the army, are you? Okay, let's go over the page then. Oh, maybe the couple words here I could look at and thinking about it. Do you want to say those two words again? So simultaneous onslaught, just for practice. Simultaneous onslaught.
Simultaneous onslaught.
Um, so at the end, it's sort of a T, much more of a T sound on the end. If I just do onslaught on,
Onslaught. Simultaneous onslaught.
yeah, the last one was the best one. That's it. There's definitely
Onslaught.
that's it. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, that's it.
Mhm.
You've got it, I think. I think so. The Balkans is a place in Europe, isn't it?
Mhm. Yes.
So, and these are the foothills. So the Balkan foothills. Can you just say that a little bit there again for me?
Balkan foothills.
Yeah, that's great. That's it. Yeah, I think you got that. Yes, there was probably a few things there, but I can't think what they were now. So let's flick over the page. Anything
Mm.
here you want to go back over again? Probably a couple of words there.
Pathology. Mm. Eighth. Mystical eighth.
Yes,
Eighth.
so you probably could never guess how this word is pronounced. So we pronounce this word as or.
Oh my God. Oh, nothing to say.
No, you could never guess that. So it's almost as if it's like this word. I'm sure you've seen this word in English, or.
Or.
If you're not too sure whether to buy apples or oranges, or in the middle, or. So it's basically the same sound, or, or.
Or.
Do you know any idea of the meaning of the word? Do you know the meaning? Or don't you?
Uh,
So if you're in awe of somebody, you're showing a great deal of respect, a little certain amount of wonder. If you met a king, going back to kings and queens again, you would probably be in awe of them. If you have a favorite pop star or favorite actor, and you saw them in real life, you would be in awe. Oh, that's sort of a sound you might make. That's awe.
some
You're
kind
in
of
awe.
to admire someone
If
or
you admire somebody, that's it. Yes, if you
someone.
admire someone, you would be in awe of them. And you might say that's awe. And when
Or,
you met them, you might say it was awesome. It was awesome to meet them. I really enjoyed it. It was awesome.
but
Lots
also come
teenagers say
from
that.
come from or awesome because I know awesome.
I'm just sort of playing. I'm playing a little bit with the words. Yes, I'm playing a little bit with the words. So yeah, they are related. I'm not saying they're exactly equal, but yes.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
Well, let's pop it in the dictionary. Let's just make absolutely awesome achievement, awesome challenge, awesome experience. So
Okay.
adjective, an awesome person or thing is very impressive and often frightening. Yeah, that's the they're really bringing out a very good point there. So it's impressive, but it can also be, or at the same time, it can be frightening. So you can be in awe of someone or something, or in a certain situation. It can be fantastic, but it can also be frightening. So
Mm.
it can be both. It can be one or the other.
Mm.
That makes sense. So awe-inspiring. That's normally positive, I would say, awe-inspiring. That's if it's just a positive experience. I met my favorite pop star and it was awe-inspiring. I want to become a singer too, you might say. Striking, shocking. Oh, that's more the negative side, shocking, isn't it?
Mm.
Imposing. That's more in the middle, isn't it? Okay, so does that make it clear? There was some bit of an issue there, I think you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. Probably
Mm.
teenage. Well, maybe teenagers in the past use that quite a bit. Anything else there? So that's all. Okay.
Uh, um, two words. It
Oh,
was even
the word.
of lunacy and heresy.
Yeah,
Lunacy and
you, yeah.
heresy.
Your pronunciation's pretty good. So lunacy and heresy. So the H we say the H. So it's definite h sound there. Lunacy and heresy.
Mm.
Um, so if you're lunatic, it means you're mad.
Mhm.
Mad. You perhaps you're psychologically unwell, something like that. But with
Okay.
heresy, you're not necessarily it's not madness, but you believe something. Say the church often talks about heretics, not often, but in the past has talked about heretics. And if you're a heretic, what you believe is heresy.
Ah,
The two words relate, heretic and heresy.
it's similar because I think maybe the words became from the Latin, no? Maybe
Almost certainly, yes.
lunatico,
Latin.
hereje. I think so. I think
Ah, okay. Well,
maybe
we pronounce the H though. We pronounce the H.
uh-huh.
That's the
Heresy, lunacy and heresy. Hmm.
heresy. Heresy. That's it. Heresy.
Heresy, heresy, heresy. Hmm.
Strangely, is it? No, I won't say it. Yeah, that's good. Anything else there? Anything else?
Yes. Um, no, I think not. I think not. I don't remember where I
Yeah,
finished.
you've forgotten it all now. I totally understand. Yes, okay. That
Yeah,
was good.
okay, okay, okay.
It
Yeah.
was it's quite tricky, isn't it? If you do get it, it might be useful. It might be. I'm not saying it is. If you go back to the page where you said you were coming to this class on Meetup, towards the bottom, somewhere towards the bottom is a little link to a YouTube video, and it's me reading the story
Oh,
slowly.
uh-huh.
So that might be useful. So
Yes,
if you want to go back over it.
I did last week, but
Oh, right. Okay. Well,
I prefer.
maybe again might be useful. I don't know.
Okay.
What some people do is they sort of stop every so often, they rewind a little bit, and then they read it with me at the same time. If so, that's sometimes quite useful. It can be useful. I don't know. So do practice words out loud rather than just hear them if you can, because it's saying it out loud that it embeds it into your own memory rather than just simply hearing it, I should say. Um, so if I just think of some of the words that I noticed back on the previous page, there was the word. I think that was it. Yeah, that was it. Yes. So, and I think you pronounced this as a different word. That word there. So that was the word that was on the screen, but I think you said this word. So this word at the bottom is easy. If something is easy, then it is simple to do. It's not a trouble to do if it's something is easy. But here the word was Do you know how to say this word? What's this word?
Uh, is
Yeah, that's pretty much it, yes. So yeah, that's what we say. So ease, ease. So the S has got a sound in it. So just do both of these words now, just for practice. Ease.
is is an up. Mm. Is a noun
Um, let's pop it into the dictionary. It's
because
probably the best thing to do. So easy is pretty much the same word, I would say. So ease and strange. Ease and easy. So apparent, I don't know why the word apparent is there. So here we go. Here's the word easy. So i- if you talk about ease of a particular activity, you are referring to the. I was hoping they'd give me a sentence, but they haven't given me a sentence. Let's click on the on that word there.
easy of.
So I
Mm.
was hoping so I was hoping to give me a sentence using the word. So for ease of reference, so this is a sentence using the word. So sometimes you might say this, you might use this phrase here. So for ease of reference, only the relevant extracts of the regulations are included. So for ease of reference, that phrase gets used quite a bit, ease of reference. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Um, the camera's ease of use.
Okay.
Camera's ease.
Okay. Okay.
I don't understand that one myself.
But Tony, the difference between easy and
Mhm.
is that is goes with off or not.
You can say
Off.
ease off. You definitely can say that as a phrase. Yes, ease off. Yes. If something is a bit too painful, if you're getting medical treatment, let's say a
Mhm.
massage on your back, your injured back or something, you might say, "Oh, ease off a little bit. That's painful." You might say that. Yes, ease off. And that means don't be quite so strong, maybe. Yes, that's true.
Okay.
So I
Uh,
don't need.
Sorry. First or last, or she lived a life of easy.
No, I was just going to say that one. So she lived a life of ease. So
Of
that if it was a
sorry, of
Y, there's an
ease.
E there. If it was a Y, then it
Hmm.
would be easy. But the sentence doesn't make sense if you say she lived a life of easy. It has to be ease in
Yeah,
that sense,
yeah,
just the letter E there in that sense.
yeah,
So it's a
yeah,
little bit tricky. So if
yeah.
we, so that's as a noun, an uncountable noun in that. I thought it might give us some advice about where to use it, but it doesn't. So let's look up the word easy
Mm-hmm.
or Y on the end. So here it's saying easy access. These are phrases how you could use it. Easy access, easy accessibility. I don't know what easy aces is. If you say something is easy as A, B, C, so when you learn the alphabet, supposedly it's quite easy. It isn't actually. If you say something as easy as A, B, C, you're saying it's very easy.
Mm-hmm.
Easy as pie means the same thing. Easy care. So it's not too difficult to wash this piece of clothing or something like that. An easy chair is very comfortable chair, but you can't say an ease chair. You can't change that Y to an E. You can't, with any of these words here, you can't put an E on the end and it makes sense, sort of thing. For these particular words, you have to say easy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So so I've just put ease in there, and we're looking at ease at the bottom here. This is easy with the Y. Let's search that word and see
It's
if we
an
can.
adjective, I understood. I understand, sorry. Easy is an adjective. Easy is a noun.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, I guess. Yeah, so it's can't seem to get rid of that E, the capital E. I think maybe that's what's making it. I don't want to. Oh, there we go. I think it was a capital E, wasn't it? So yes, an adjective. So is that clear then? So give some more examples here. So the shower is easy to install. That's it. Yes, it's describing how to do this action. It's easy to get a seat. It's it's not an easy task. That's that. Here we go. Okay, let's go back to the passage then.
Mhm.
Um, ease. Another one I think was the word we had about when he was getting injured. and in the battle, it's up here. So this is the word up here. If I just type that one out,
Unharmed.
yeah, I can hear a slight on the H is it's I can't think quite what the phrase is called. So we would say unharmed, unharmed. You think
Unharmed.
unharmed, you begin to say
Yeah, unharmed.
that's it, yes, unharmed. That's what I was trying to get to. Yes, I'm glad you know how to say it and I don't. So well done. That's it. Well done. You've got it. Anything else? Maybe so Caesar had these particular so I'm sure you know this word here. So how'd you say this word on the screen in blue?
Legion.
We say it as legion.
Ah,
Legion.
Legion.
That's
Oh,
it. Legion.
Legion.
Yeah,
Legion.
legion.
Mm.
Although there's an I there, we sort of ignore it, you might say. So it's legion. Legion.
This is exactly the same word in a
I
in
know, I know. Yes,
yeah.
of course. It's a Latin, isn't it? Or even Greek, I don't know.
But we put the stress
Ah,
and
yeah,
legion,
yeah.
legion, legion,
Legion.
legion. Sorry,
Yeah,
legion. Yeah.
yeah. That's it. You got it. Um, and maybe on the other page we had the word sword. Maybe it's sword clasped hand. We didn't really do the word sword. Do you want to do those two words again?
Sword clasped. Sword
Yeah.
clasped.
Yes. Okay. Let me just read it back to you then. So, and I'll put the other word on the end of it too. So it was hand, wasn't it? Oh, I can't spell, I should say. So sword clasped hand. Sword
Sword
clasped
clasped
hand.
hand. Sword clasped hand.
Yes. Very good. Very, very good. Well done. That's it. Yes, you got it. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. So you must be exhausted now. Do you want to sit
Yeah.
down and have a cup of tea and relax for 10,
I
20
am going.
minutes when you get
I
some
am
energy
no,
back
Tony. I am going to walk my dog.
and have a
Sorry,
sleep?
but I hate to say
Okay.
bye
Yes, it's 7 o'clock if you need to go.
until Monday, next Monday, until
Okay.
next.
Well, we're here tomorrow as well, actually. So if you want to come tomorrow
Yeah,
and
because that
Wednesday.
I returned to your
Yes, I remember. Yes, yes.
because the usual Wednesdays were
You're not available. You couldn't
not
make
okay
it.
for me, and now Monday are perfect.
Oh, great. Okay. Okay,
Then
we'll see you next Monday then, maybe. Okay. It's a different story next Monday.
yeah, but I try to read before because
Okay.
it's better. It's better for I can put the attention reading correctly because I know more or less the meaning previously, you know.
Yes,
I
yes.
prefer
Um, Probably some of the words we use are a little bit unusual, I guess. Maybe like was it
a lot.
bestowal? Bestowal. Some of these words are a little bit unusual, so don't perhaps spend too long on some of the difficult words. But yeah, most of them are quite you. Yeah,
Mm,
you'll be okay. I'm sure you'll be okay.
okay. Um, hear
See you
you
next time then.
next. Yeah. Bye.
Okay.
Evening
Bye-bye.
both.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Yes. So any that was a long one. Any questions there about this little bit, Ruslan?
Mm, yeah. About pronunciation, I want to ask uh, you about Baden,
Burden. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Baden,
Okay. Burden. Yeah, you've got it pretty good. Yeah.
Baden, yeah,
Yeah. That's how it said. Yes. Burden. Burden. That's it.
Baden.
Yeah, you've got it. So if something is heavy to carry, you might call it a burden. Something is heavy to
Hmm.
carry. But in this story, I think it's in terms of perhaps all the people that have died, he finds that a heavy burden on his soul or on his heart, maybe. I can't remember how he uses it yet. So there's a few different ways you could use it. That's it.
Yeah, yeah,
So was that on
okay.
this page here?
No, no,
And
it was the previous page, probably.
okay,
Yeah,
let's go back
previous
then. I've
page.
gone back a previous page. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Anything else?
yeah, and
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
yeah, by then. And how about I would have to
Conquer.
conquer,
Conquer. That's it.
conquer.
So, as a military man, when he wins a battle, you can say he's conquered. If he conquers a
Ah,
country,
conquer.
he's had several battles, presumably, or wars, and won against some country. But you might also say that you've conquered your fears, or you've conquered a problem. Probably your fears, you might say. You wouldn't necessarily
Hmm.
conquer a problem. You said, I don't know. But you might, as a bit of a phrase, I've conquered my fears. That's a bit of an idiom, I suppose, or phrase, phrasal verb, perhaps. Anything else?
For example, how can we replace this word conquer or a synonym to
Um,
this word?
Not exactly, but one, WON, one you might say. I can't think of one immediately. Let's bring the dictionary up. So, successful, I suppose.
Ah,
Successfully. uh, let's put the word conquer in in the other dictionary. That's quite. I can't think of one actually. If you're successful, you can say you've conquered something. So seize. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you're in a battle and you conquer, you can say you have seized something. But if you seize something, it's like you've stolen it. If you seize something, you've grabbed it with your hand against somebody
hmm.
else. Yeah, there is that idea. If you
Okay,
conquer, it's a battle.
okay.
Yeah. Acquire is
Yeah,
another one. Occupy, obtain. You don't
okay,
use it every
okay.
day. You don't use it every day. It's, language, really. Conquer. Yeah, so if you conquer, you can say to overcome an obstacle, feeling, or desire. Surmount. That's a good one. Yes, surmount. Yeah, that's a tricky word, though, isn't it? Surmount. Yeah, so it's not an easy word to find a synonym for, but
Hmm.
yes. I would say none of these words exactly fit back into the story. Seize, obtain, acquire, occupy. If you try to put any of those back in the story, it
Hmm.
doesn't quite work. And really, I would say it's probably only conquer. But it's basically
Hmm.
if someone um, has a battle and they
Yes.
defeat the enemy, you can say you have conquered the enemy. You can say you've conquered the enemy in a
Hmm.
battle. But normally it's in war, fighting, that sort of a thing. So,
Okay, okay.
but again, you can say you conquered your fears or something like that in your own life. But that's normally it's quite a big battle rather than something small.
Of, hmm.
Anything else there?
Yeah, and precise. It is like exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, that's exactly the same meaning. Yes, precise and exact. That's it.
Precise.
Yeah. Your voice is slightly muffled or not quite clear. It's a little trouble hearing what you're saying sometimes.
It is yeah, probably my handset. Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know. I need to buy a new one
Okay.
probably because
Oh, so are you reading the screen on your phone at the same time as speaking into it, are you? That's quite tricky.
oh,
Anything else there?
mhm.
How about his word here? It came up with
Oh,
Delors.
yeah, it is shattered,
Yeah, that's it. Yes, shattered. Shattered. That's it.
shattered.
Yeah. And so if normally it's about glass, you might use it. So if a piece of glass gets broken, normally it breaks into hundreds of small pieces. And if it's in a good number of pieces, a large number of pieces, you can say it's shattered, shattered.
Hmm.
But if it's only cracks down the middle, like there's one crack in it,
Yeah.
or maybe two cracks, you haven't really shattered it. It's when it's in lots of small pieces, that's when it's shattered.
Okay.
But you can also say though, when you've had a very hard day at work and you come home to your partner, you could say, I feel shattered. A lot of British
Yeah.
people say that, I feel shattered. It's a way of saying I feel exhausted, really tired. I've been broken into 1,000 pieces. That's sort of what you're saying.
Mm. I
You must
feel
have been shattered.
started. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 that's it. Yeah, I feel shattered.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, Valens.
Yeah, that's
It,
uh,
it is
I
really
th
just what exactly means.
yeah, your voice is still it's a bit tricky hearing exactly how you're saying it. So it sounds like you're giving a bit too much emphasis to the Y, but so it's valley or valleys, valleys, valleys.
Valleys.
And this is, you have two hills. Between two hills, the ground goes down, doesn't it? It goes down. Where the ground goes down between two hills, that's the valley. Valley, yeah? And a
Hmm.
river normally runs in the bottom of a valley. Does that make sense? A
Yeah.
valley.
Okay.
Oh,
Valley.
I can hear you
Yeah.
better now, actually. Oh, that's better. I don't know why. That seems better now.
Yeah. Valley.
Valley.
Valleys. Valleys.
Yes, valleys. Yes. That's pretty
Valleys.
good. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. This is a
Yeah.
place name in Europe. Balkan. That's a place in the Europe, sort of an area in Europe, not necessarily a country, but
Yeah.
sort of a region, more of a region.
Okay. And it is probably on a mountains. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the
Valleys.
Balkans are famous for the mountains and hills there. Yeah, that's right. It's quite
Yeah.
rough, very rough area to walk or climb, etc.
Rough. It is like a
Difficult to walk,
difficult. Yeah. Difficult
travel
to.
around. Yeah, that's right, because it's up and down and
Mm,
cold, wet, trees, I guess. I
yeah.
don't know really.
Yeah. Windy.
Possibly
Probably.
at the top it will be, yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this story is not easy to understand, because
Mm,
yeah, and I didn't catch actually the main point of it. Yeah, I
mm,
understand that he was in army
mm,
for Alexander. Yeah,
hmm hmm
and then he became disappointed of Alexander. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he started to look like a bloodthirsty leader. Yeah,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then he told that Alexandra became powerful thanks him. Yeah,
Uh,
probably it should be in a second page.
oh,
I
next
think.
page. Okay.
Yeah, next page. Next page.
Okay. Um, uh, okay. Can I go back to the first page then? Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
So, well, before we do that, so he mentions Caesar here, Caesar, and normally we talk about it. Do you know, when I say Caesar, it says Caesar. Who are you thinking of? Any idea? Anyone come to mind when it
Mm,
says Caesar?
no.
Um, the leaders of the Roman Empire at one point, or from one particular point, became known as Caesar. Caesar. And you get the
Okay.
word, so that's Caesar, is basically the leader of the Roman Empire. So this is a couple of thousand years ago. So that's yes, that's Caesar. But we also
Mhm.
get the word um, Tsar. Oh, I misspelled it. Tsar, as in Russian Tsar from that. These two words, Tsar comes from Caesar. And Kaiser. Kaiser was the leader of Rome, of Germany, I should say. That starts with a K. How do you spell Kaiser? Kai. I've misspelt that, but Kaiser. How do you spell Kaiser? I misspelt it
Mhm.
there.
Oh,
Well, so Kaiser and Tsar all come from Caesar. Here we go. Oh, so this is spelled two in English. It's spelled two ways, Tsar and Tsar, but both pronounced Tsar. That's obviously the Russian leader or king, you might say. But if we go back, so that's but if we go back here, it mentions Alexander, and Alexander lived about 300 years before Caesar. So Caesar was a particular person in the Roman period, and he lived 300 years after Alexander. So this person that it's talking about, this Gustav Braun, he couldn't possibly have known Alexander and Caesar unless he was 300 years old. Does that make sense? More than 300
yeah,
years old. So is what is another one of Rudin's story, which it can't be real unless this person is at least 300 years old. And if we go
but
back, yeah,
I think probably he wants to describe someone who lived at the same time with Alexandra, but he probably
yeah,
wrote it a couple of years ago, this story, but he wanted to show
mm,
us and show us uh, to uh,
mm,
show us to this person who lived
mm.
with Alexandra years.
Um,
Probably my explanation, yeah, explanation is not so clear. Yeah,
it's
yeah, I
I'm
understand.
missing it. Yes, I'm missing what you're
Yeah,
saying, I think. So it can't be a real person as
yeah,
such.
okay.
But if you think about it, there really were people like him who fought with Alexander, and there were different people who fought with Caesar. And both of these people are known for their battles and how they were very good military commanders and almost always seemed to win their battles. Um, and at the end of the story, doesn't he talk about bullets as well? And that's a sort of relatively modern invention, bullets. Whereas
Mm,
Alexander would have had bows and arrows, spears and lances, and similarly with Caesar had legionnaires, didn't he, etc. So it's sort of having like one soldier fighting in all of these different battles, in all of these different battles for the last
mhm.
2,000 or more years, perhaps. Um, it's sort of, I don't know really. I think there is the idea of the eternal soldier, so someone who cannot die. And I've come across this idea of a story. So it's as if they can't be killed. And that's sort of the idea behind unassailable in a way. If you, it's not
Mm,
exactly the same meaning. If you can't die, you live forever, and if somehow you're indestructible, you can't die, I guess. And that's sort of some of the idea here, I think, anyway. What do you think of that?
of yeah, it looks for me complicated, yeah, and now I'm
Hmm.
confused,
Oh,
because
really? Okay.
I thought
Ah,
about it differently, yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but now, yeah, I need to rethink about it.
yeah. Uh, all of the stories that we've read, it's not. They can't quite be exactly as written. They're sort of impossible in everyday life. These can't really happen. All of the stories. I mean, the very first story
Yeah.
can't happen where
Okay.
someone was using the telephone to transmit silver down the telephone, which is sort of, we can't do that.
Yeah, but I'm fancy to find the
Mm.
point of author of this, of the writer of this story.
Oh, yeah.
What exactly he wanted to show people
Mm.
write this story.
Well, if I, good question. I would might be tempted to go to the last opening, this page here. Maybe at the end he says, maybe if I just read this last section,
Yeah,
so this
yeah,
whole section
yeah.
here. So recently I realized that my secret was worth more than the price I had paid for it, and that it was time for me to leave the town. So here, I think, if you remember, this is more in modern day times, so perhaps almost 2,000 years later than what the little bit that you read from the bit that I'm reading. So it's almost 2,000 years. And then he says, so it's time for him to leave the town for some reason, which in 100 years would be inevitably be just a part of my imagination. So if it's in his imagination, in 100 years' time, he's sort of
Mm,
saying that it's so far back in his past that he doesn't really remember it properly. But the thing is, it means he's at least 100 years old, he's saying here. And we've already learned that he's at least 300 years old.
mhm,
But this is now in modern day times, so he must be about 2,000 years old or even more.
mm,
If it's a real person, if it's a real person. Then he says, okay, so today I saw my sword again. Again, this is in modern times. He saw his old sword from 2,000 years ago that he had with Alexander, or whatever it was. Then he says, a man who didn't look like an archaeologist. So do you know what an archaeologist is?
yeah,
Archaeologist.
yeah,
Yeah, so they dig stuff up from the past. They dig up the ground
yeah.
and find things that are hundreds or even thousands of years old. So it says he didn't look like an archaeologist, this man that he just met, or
Mm,
an idle tourist, of which the streets of this town, where I while away my days, are so full, laid it before me. So he laid the sword before him. I don't know quite how or why. Then it says he sits opposite me in an armchair. And armchairs are modern. They're not. I
mhm,
don't think Alexander the Great had armchairs, did he? So, and a
mm,
flame I know well flashes in his eyes, a flame that destroyed all those who at one time thought of the idea of conquering the world, my world. In a way, is his world because he has conquered. With Alexander the Great, he conquered a chunk of the world. And then with Caesar, he conquered another bit of the world, let's say around Europe or Spain or Italy or wherever it was. And then it mentions he went round fighting with the barbarians, whoever they were, and they conquered a little bit. So in a sense, it is his world because he's gone all round different places with all these kings and leaders conquering the world with them. So it is his world in a sense. Then it carries on. So I read my name on the untarnished blade, the sword blade, and next to it the age-old call to arms. There's that same phrase again, age old. It's another way of saying a very old thing, a very old thing, basically. So, age-old call to arms that heats up my blood. In a moment I will kill this arrogant stranger, unless he turns out to be the devil himself, making an appearance at last to offer me something new in exchange for the eternity to which I had grown so tired.
mm,
So in exchange for the eternity to which I had grown so tired. So it sort of means he lives for eternity. That's what this last line says. This man lives for eternity. But it's not really about a man, is it? I think it's really about people fighting, people killing each other, people fighting over land, people fighting over to win the world. I think that's really what it's saying. It's not really about a person. I think it's sort of saying that men, maybe a little bit of women too, but mainly 99% of the time it's men who are fighting, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And I think this it's sort of just the whole thing is talking about that really. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's what I would yeah. So and there's lots of odd little instance stories that are included. Like he meets this man who isn't an, it doesn't look like an archaeologist, but somehow he's found his sword and presents it to the man who the real owner of the sword. Because we didn't read it, but at some point I think he threw the sword away. I think he did. I can't remember now. And so 2,000 years later, this guy finds it and gives it back to him. It's an odd story. It makes you think. It makes you think, I would say.
Yeah, I think the person who uh, wrote this article, he read a lot of information of history, and he
Mm,
decided to create his unusual way to describe some part of history. Yeah, and
mm,
he uh,
mm.
created himself in this. He created his character in
Character,
this,
yeah.
yeah, character and behavior probably, and his imagination in this article. Yeah,
Mm,
and that's why it is quite complicated. Yeah, to understand. Yeah, with my level of English.
yeah.
Yeah,
It is tricky, isn't it? So you're to get the sense of what's happening in the story, it can be quite tricky. So maybe when I read it out, maybe I should explain what I think is happening in that paragraph in the story, because maybe it is a bit too tricky as a story, I think. But so we
yeah,
just talk about this, just mention this word here at the bottom in blue. So we say this is character, character.
character.
Um, I think you're a bit too strong on the end. You're saying character, character.
Ah,
It's more character, character. Just ease it back on the ter bit. Character, character.
character, character.
Yeah, it's you're a little bit still a bit too strong on the T, I would say.
Mhm.
And you're saying it a bit too strongly. So just tone down the volume slightly on that little bit there. Too much emphasis on that bit. It's okay. I can understand what you're saying, but it just sounds a bit odd when you're saying it. So we just say character, character.
Character, character.
You're so used to saying it that way, it's tricky to change. I'll
Yeah,
just pop it in here so you can hear the word someone else saying it. Sometimes just hearing someone else saying it helps, doesn't it? I keep if I put a capital letter in, I think it seems to make it search all these other words. So if I just put a small c in this time, hopefully it'll there we go, character. If I listen to them say it, oh, here we go,
character,
character, character. One more go.
character,
One more.
character.
Every time I say something, you just say the word and
Mhm.
I can miss it. So I'll say it once, then it's your go. So character.
Character,
Oh, that's getting it. That's getting it. Well, maybe once more. Character.
character.
Yeah, your first one was better, but we'll
Mhm.
leave it there. We'll leave it there. So,
Mhm.
and tell you what, perhaps we'll finish the class there too. So whoops, wrong
Yeah,
button. If I just finish the class, if I bring this up here, that makes it slightly easier for me. Just got to find the